Another week of Gas Off podcast.
Another week. We are making it on the podcast scene, it seems.
I'm Felicia. This is Romaine.
Yeah.
We have introduced ourselves not once in the entire thing.
We figured we start to do things professionally for once.
Today we're going to do that. Today's special guest, we're so excited. He couldn't be here today, but we have Craig Pike of Craig's Cookies. Probably the best cookie in Toronto, I would say.
If you're in Toronto and you don't know Craig's Cookie, you're probably living under a rock at this point.
Yeah, definitely. Literally, like, the best thing ever. Like, comfort cookie, delicious for a snack, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I've eaten like 6 pieces.
Yeah, I've had them. I've actually had them on Saturday. Imagine if you have like a really good cookies, and on top of that, you add like one of your favorite chocolate bars as a kid. So Mars, Tweaks, it's all there.
Yeah. But everyone, say hello to Craig. He's joining us over the phone.
Hello, you're making me blush.
I hope so.
Yeah. Craig.
How are you? Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. When Romaine told me that you guys were close and you could join us, I was super excited because I'm a huge fan. I was really excited.
I was just like, yeah, whatever, it's
just Craig.
Just Craig.
It's just me.
But Craig, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're from St. John's, Newfoundland, and you were a theater student before getting involved in the culinary world.
Yeah, so I'm from Newfoundland. I was born and raised in St. John's. I studied music at university in Newfoundland. I studied saxophone, and then I decided to move to Halifax to become an actor. Then eventually ended up in Toronto at theater school, worked in the city for a while, was at the Shaw Festival for about 4 seasons, and then moved back to Toronto, and found myself up with about a month without work. So then I decided to try to figure out a way to pay my Rogers bill. So I thought maybe I'll...
Fuck Rogers. Isn't Rogers something?
Always Rogers. How do we pay our Rogers bill? That's what we'll say on my epitaph. Craig Pike lived life, paid his Rogers bill.
I think that's all of us.
Should do a little shout out to Rogers if they want to pay our bills.
Right? So then I was like, maybe I'll sell cookies, because whenever I went to parties or potlucks, remember potlucks when people would see each other?
Is that still a thing?
I would bring cookies. So I thought, I'll do that. So I went on Facebook and said, does anybody want to buy some cookies? And somebody said, sure. And then I was like, maybe I'll just have fun with it. So I was like, maybe I need a name. So luckily, Craig Cookies is alliterative. And then I put them in a little brown paper bag and would bike around the city and deliver cookies to my friends. And then between the jigs and the reels, in that 1 month, I sold 200 dozen cookies.
Wow. You were baking this in your apartment?
I mean, public health doesn't need to know that. But
yeah, so you are your private little kitchen, yes.
Yes, yeah. It was fully inspected. No chicken. There was no raw chicken anywhere.
Then that's fine.
I mean, that's really all they teach anyway, isn't it? I'm kidding. I love public health. I think they're amazing.
Shout out to the public health.
But we have no raw chicken in our cookies. So I was baking cookies, and I sold 200 dozen.
That's
and then I went and did some acting. And then I came back, and I would sell some more cookies and bartended up the street on Church Street at this bar called Byzantine that's no longer there.
R.I.P.
In 2017, I got a really good offer from Williams-Sonoma to do a 6-month pop-up shop at Williams-Sonoma at Yorkdale Mall, which then kind of paved the way to open the first brick and mortar in 2018. Now, just over 2 years later, we have 2 locations. Sales are up something like, 400% in 2 years.
Wow. That's crazy. Yeah, we're going to touch on that too with how much you've grown in the city.
Yeah. I mean, the city has been good to us for sure.
Yeah. You're also a corgi dad.
I'm a corgi dad.
Yeah?
Yeah, I have a sweet little corgi. His name's Jonathan, or Jonathan George Hennessy III on Instagram.
Yeah, we love him.
And he's usually now at work with me because we just opened offices, so now he can come to work.
Oh.
There you go. Make
So
the
he's
moves.
now an office puppy.
Are you gonna go and start making dog Craig's cookies?
Gosh, no.
Okay.
Well, too bad. Because I will eat them probably still.
I would eat them as well. And the thing is you know, like, I'm not a baker. I'm not a trained baker. I'm not a trained business person. I'm an actor and a musician. So I have a really good chocolate chip cookie recipe. I've got a pretty decent imagination. So putting those two things together has been part of the success. But past that, I don't really know how to bake anything else.
What gave you the idea to like add Pop-Tarts and chocolate bars into the middle of these cookies?
Yeah, so it was classic, just like classic chocolate chip at first. And then I was watching a BuzzFeed, which I'm still on the fence of whether or not it has done more harm than good for home cooks. But I think it's done more good than harm. And they were putting an Oreo inside a cookie. So I thought, that's kind of a cool idea. So I put an Oreo in a cookie, and then I was at good old Freshco in Parkdale, and with a friend of mine who was helping me carry flour. And Pop-Tarts were on sale, and she was like, maybe you should put Pop-Tarts in cookies. And I said, well, why not? So I'll give it a go. So it worked, and then ultimately I just said to myself, well, heck, maybe I can just put anything in a cookie. So that's what I did.
Yeah, it's fantastic. The cheesecake cookie is probably my favorite one.
You know
That
what?
one is so yummy. If you've had it a little warmed up as well, it's
yeah?
so,
Yeah.
like, the cheesecake is really creamy, and then you have the little crispy bits of the cookie with the soft parts of the cookie.
The Twix
Shortbread
is
is
really
also one of
good.
my favorites. The shortbread inside a cookie.
Yeah.
I think Twix and Mars is probably like
Your
my
favorite?
two favorite. But your Oreo is like, you can't go wrong with it either. It's I don't know, we're talking about cookies, but like at the same time I'm obsessed. You know what I mean? So,
And then the little shot of I think you're doing like Sheldon's Creek chocolate milk and 2%.
We're actually doing Harmony.
Harmony, right.
Harmony milk. And we're doing 2% and chocolate.
Yeah.
And then shots of milk or cups of milk, or you can buy the full bottle.
Yes.
And then at Christmas, which is just around the corner,
Don't remind any of us.
we do Harmony's organic eggnog.
Oh.
oh wow.
And it's just like, it's next level.
I bet.
Oh man, that sounds so good.
Yeah, it's gonna be so fantastic.
Yeah, it's super yummy.
Can't wait for Christmas.
I can't wait for cookies.
Cookies, Christmas, and eggnog. Yes,
Yeah.
that works for me.
Cookies, Christmas, and the second wave of COVID.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's gonna happen.
I don't mean to make jest. There's a lot of people that have been sick from it, so I take that back.
Yeah, I mean we can quickly touch on COVID because I know there was a huge fiasco with like Uber and you guys.
Yeah, I mean, not to spill the tea so much, but like, I mean, COVID has been such an awful thing for so many people. For those that have gotten sick, for those that have passed away, I mean, my heart goes out to those families.
Yeah.
And health is obviously the most important to business even. But then with business, we've been lucky that we've gotten about 30 to 40% busier as a result of COVID, or as a result of the precautions that people are taking because of COVID, because people are ordering online more.
Yeah.
And then around Uber Eats, I mean, it's what's that saying? It's better to go to bed with the devil you know than the devil you don't, or something like that, or
I mean the devil. Yeah, the devil is the 28% cut right off the top.
Yeah.
Well, they take 30%, and for Craig's cookies, for our business, it's actually not a super negative model to be a part of, because we can make cookies very quickly.
Okay.
And it doesn't take a lot of prep to make some cookies. So as far as like what it would cost for us to be able to just have our own delivery system, it's not that much different than the 30% that Uber takes. But that's mean, that's so specific depending on what kind of food you're selling and what restaurant you're on. The thing with Uber that was disappointing is that they weren't allowing gratuity. So it wasn't really supporting the restaurant.
Yeah.
It's more so supporting the customer.
Yes.
So that was my biggest, I guess, pet peeve. Well, it was more than a pet peeve, but my issue with Uber Eats.
Does it run deep?
Does it run deep? I mean, I try to be. One thing you learn as you grow up is you're like, okay, to not take things so seriously. But I'll be honest, like I hold a grudge, like nobody's business, and I really shouldn't. And I practice.
I'm with you.
And I'm trying not to hold a grudge, and it's probably why I'm single. But like,
shout out
to single people
who likes cookies.
Craig and Feli were single.
I'm not.
Yeah, but it's something I'm working on. But yeah, no, it doesn't run deep with Uber Eats. I mean, because what you kind of do is you say there's nothing I can do about it. They also still have a monopoly over the apps for food. So what I decided to kind of look at is being like, okay, let's take the money that we're making from Uber Eats and try to find a way to give back to the community, but also I'm giving my staff. I've upped everybody's wages from now on. So if you work for Craig's Cookies, you're making about $2.50 above minimum wage to start.
Amazing.
So I'm just trying to find ways to make a negative a positive.
Yeah.
No, that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's really good. Like you really persevered through COVID and made a terrible thing a really positive one. And I think the love people have for cookies is that's why people were eating wholesome, homemade goodies during this whole time. And you were definitely probably a part of making a lot of people happy through their stomachs.
Well, it's not just buying a cookie, but it's buying nostalgia in a way.
Yeah.
You're purchasing the memory of having baked goods with family members growing up. You're purchasing the memory of when you baked with your parents, if you grew up with parents, or and it goes past just North America, like almost every kind of culture in society has some kind of baked good, whether it be naan bread or baklava or whatnot. We all have that kind of really warm, gooey food feeling when we eat a baked good.
Yeah, and I think it's also just more than a cookie. It's also your reputation, right? I mean, there is some business that might do really good food, but at the same time, if you don't really agree with the way they are, it's a little bit different. But I think you really worked really hard towards having a good reputation and be a kind person and give back and whatnot. And I think you want to support these businesses are also doing very well in that department, right?
Yeah, I think there is a responsibility as a business owner that is doing well. I mean, we all have hard times and hardships, as I'm sure you know about being a business owner. But if you're lucky enough to be able to make some kind of profit, it is a responsibility, social responsibility, I think, to be able to give back. And to be as kind as possible. I mean, sometimes you do have to advocate for your business, and that is kind of the downfall of sometimes trying to be as kind and be honest and vulnerable as a business owner. Is that sometimes it's people don't expect you to be an advocate for your business because they don't assume that you have that in you. But yeah, I think there is definitely a social responsibility as a business owner to number one, be a part of your community, and then to try to give back any way that you can.
Yeah, I mean, every time I walk into the Church Street location, they're the most warm, welcoming staff that you have there. They're so lovely to interact with.
Oh, thanks. I mean, it's a testimony to them for sure, and the incredible staff that I have, and that what I tell them when I train anybody is I kind of have a meeting with every new staff, and I kind of show them around, and then I say, listen, the cookies are so important, but customer service is so important, especially nowadays. I don't know how you feel about it, or if you've even talked about it on the podcast, but how there are so many businesses now, or my experience with so many businesses has been that I should feel grateful that I'm allowed to come and purchase something at somebody's restaurant or coffee shop, where I am a firm believer should be completely opposite. We should be grateful that our customers are choosing to spend their hard-earned money, especially in times like this, at Craig's Cookies.
Yeah.
Because really the customer can choose wherever they want to spend their money.
Absolutely.
So it's up to us to be so grateful and welcoming, because, you know, it's this idea of, like, you know, when you have a house party and you're like vacuuming up really quickly before people show up, and somebody always arrives early. You don't tell them to go. You don't stop vacuuming. You continue to vacuum, and you say, hey, listen, I'm just gonna finish this, but like, come on in, grab a drink, whatever. I'll be right. I'm gonna start the party in a second. And I kind of pass that kind of sentimentality to my staff, and that, like, the most important thing is just welcoming people into the space.
Yeah.
Whether or not you're in the middle of something or you feel like they're interrupting you, they never are. They're always allowed in, and they're always welcome, and anybody and everybody.
Yeah.
Unless they're being violent, of course.
Yeah. That's a great way to describe hospitality and guests and that connection with people.
Yeah, and to add to that, I think it's something that I've mentioned like already years ago when I was doing an interview, and people were saying like, how you feel about Toronto being like a foreigner, whatever. And I tell them, like, I don't understand why in Toronto people are so angry in the hospitality. I mean, the word hospitable is in our job.
Yeah.
But funny enough, like, I feel we're not grateful, because I tell people, it's not your boss that pay your bills. The customer is the person who pays your bills, right? Your Rogers bills. So we really have to work. That's true. I think we have to really work on understanding that there's so many options. There's so many type of cookies. There's so many type of French, Japanese, whatever it may be, restaurants. But at the end of the day, the guest makes, as you said, the choice to dress up, take an Uber, not shout out to Uber, to put it on and spend like a lot of money where they could have just stayed home in a comfy clothes, but decided to spend part of their wage to come to see you. So I think we have to be very grateful and a lot nicer to our guests, for sure.
Yeah, but one day at a time.
Yes, always.
I'm gonna start bringing up about like being LGBT. I mean, your first location was in Parkdale, correct?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, which is kind of, or was, a hub for the LGBT community and queer folk in Toronto for a long time. But you're a male in a male-dominated industry, I would say. In terms of hospitality and restaurants and kitchens. What was it like for you, and how did you navigate through the industry, being openly out and trying to, basically prove yourself in this industry as like one of the top dogs?
Wow, there's so much to that question. So I think part of the success of Craig's Cookies is that I have never felt pressure, and I've never put pressure on the business to succeed. So because my passion is acting and music, and this was literally to pay my Rogers bill, I succeeded back in 2013 when I paid my Rogers bill. So as far as my objective for starting this business, so literally everything since 2013 has been a bonus.
Yeah.
So if the cookie shop closed down tomorrow, it would be awful to have to lay off my staff, and that would be the hardest thing, 100%. Knock on wood. But past that, I think because I invested, maybe it was because I was naive, but I just invested just like kind of love into the business, and just kind of like, we never grew too quickly at all. It was basically people would order cookies, and then I would make sure that they got cookies.
Yeah.
So I think as far as being in a male-dominated industry, in the baking world, it's not so male-dominated, or that hasn't been my experience. I think part of the success as well when we started was that it was a male baking. That was the forefront of the baking business, especially for cookies. That helped. They were like, oh wow, this young dude who's like in his early 30s making cookies, isn't that sweet? And not in a patronizing way. And like I always found it to be really, really really, really sweet. And then as a gay male, I mean, I've been out for so many years. So for me, it wasn't really. It never really crossed my mind that it would be an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to the whole holding a grudge, you have to have a grudge to be able to hold on to it. So if anybody ever did have an issue, I'm pretty vocal to be like, listen, Oreos are on sale at Loblaws. You're more than welcome to go there and get a cookie if you want. Like, there's been so many times. I say not to spill the tea, but then I spill the tea. Where like, it's more so on a financial thing. Like that's the most just like as far as disparity, I guess, is concerned. That's my biggest challenge is people coming in, especially when I first started at Williams Sonoma. I was so grateful to be there, but to meet so many people that had opinions about how much things should cost. Like I remember this one woman came in and said, "I can't believe your cookies are $3 each. I know exactly how much cookies should cost." And I was like, "Okay, do tell, go for it." And then she did, and I'm like, "You're holding a $40 spatula. I'm not really sure where your unkindness is being, like, why you're being so mean or mean-spirited." So yeah, I mean, I've never been. I'm lucky, but we've never been attacked for. I've never been attacked for being a gay business owner, and the business hasn't been attacked for being pretty open about me being gay and being a huge supporter of anybody that is a minority.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think we're lucky to live in a place like Toronto where maybe it is a little easier for any walk of life to own and operate their own business, and it's unfortunate that like we are not. There aren't a lot of cities like us out there.
Yeah, Toronto is definitely a very special city, and every day I feel like I'm grateful for. You can walk on the street and be either openly gay, or you can just be like anything is possible in Toronto. It's something that you quickly forget, but then as soon as you go to the States or you go back to Europe or whatever, it kind of like comes back in your face, and you're like, oh wait, I'm not in Toronto anymore.
Yeah.
For sure, but there is. I mean, sometimes things happen, and I think for me, like my manager always says, she talked to me like a few months ago and says, like it's really great to work at Craig's Cookies because I'm a huge advocate for fairness and also an advocate for the business. And as much as everybody is welcome, I don't agree with the customers right 100% of the time. I really don't. I'm not sure if that is the best business model for people to have because while the customer is paying the bills for sure, I agree with you, Roman, about that. But like the thing is that sometimes they are completely wrong.
Oh, 100%.
And entitlement in customers has changed in the last year or two.
Yeah.
I feel. I'm not sure if you've experienced that.
Yeah.
And there's only so much that you can do as a business owner to make people happy.
Yeah, I feel like businesses kind of fail the population by not like checking them when they're wrong.
I think so, because what it does is it breeds that kind of trolling.
Exactly, and it just continues.
That trolling is all right, and it's not because it's bullying in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, as an example, I was actually at Stock Market on Saturday, and then my friend was there, and he comes back to me, and he was just like, sorry, I just had to deal with a shit show. And he was like, oh, what happened? I was like, well, whatever, something happened, and we calmed the bill of the customer. We give them $100 gift card, and they are still complaining.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you don't even know if whatever say is true, and it's something kind of bullshit to me when he told me the story. But on top of that, you're not paying for your bill. You're living with money in your pocket, and you're still pissed, and you still want to make a fuss. Give me a break.
Yeah, it's and then some people you just can't make happy.
No.
And then part of it is like you just kind of have to live with that, and hopefully the product and the brand can speak for itself.
Yes.
Definitely.
And hopefully it's one person, right? I mean, I always say if it's something that's repetitive, maybe you should look at your own business, but it's one single individual, then they should look at themselves.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree with you.
So back to where you're located. You have your first location in Parkdale at 1537 Queen Street, and your second location, which is like your newest location, at 483 Church Street. Both pretty prime locations. But I mean, before COVID even started, you saw a huge amount of gentrification happening in those areas. I know the queer community is pretty upset about things like Cruise and Tangos going up for sale to become a condo, and a lot of landmark bars and clubs in the village are kind of shutting down because more people with more money come over and buy up these spots. For yourself, being a business owner in these neighborhoods, what do you think? Do you think that landlords should be advocating more towards giving the opportunity to LGBTQ business owners instead of giving their spaces to big box stores and brands?
You know, I think I can only speak from my relationship with my landlords. In Parkdale, that space came along and it was the perfect space. I don't know if you've been to the Parkdale location, but it's 300 square feet.
Yeah.
Like it is itty bitty, but it's perfect for just to pop in and get a cookie.
Yeah.
And Parkdale, I used to live in Parkdale, and I love that neighborhood. I love the community. I love that it is so diverse, socially, economically. Parkdale has everything to offer in a way. As far as like food, there's so many different places to eat. But as far as the village is concerned, there's definitely more gentrification happening in the village.
Yeah.
My landlord luckily chose to keep these buildings. I just took over a lease where they just put like $2 million worth of money into renovating the space. And the landlords chose to keep them brick and mortars as opposed to putting a condo up.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to keep business in the community. You know, Church Street is what's the word I'm looking for? It's pretty well known that Church Street is one of the most expensive rents in the city. It's like I'm paying something like $17,000 a month for 1,600 square feet. But the thing is that like the community here gives back, and the fact that the landlord also took a risk on a small mom and pop shop meant a lot to me as a small business, because I'm not a body shop. Like a body shop was open across the street in the village. But they just closed because I'm not sure if the community wants it.
Right.
The neighborhood wants it. I think the neighborhood does really want to support local.
Yeah.
And if anything that's come out of COVID, that's truer now than ever. But as far as the rest of the village is concerned, I think that there is so much history and culture in the village. I mean, this community has survived so much between like HIV and AIDS and like the bathhouse raids. Like I'm an actor and I've done so many shows at Buddies about the queer history in Toronto, and this community is so strong.
We love Buddies. We love Buddies.
Buddies in bad times.
Yeah.
But part of growth means change as well. And new generations kind of growing up through communities. So, you know, I'm kind of torn as far as neighborhoods and how change can have a positive influence on a neighborhood, I think.
Yeah, I mean, in Parkdale, we saw the loss of the beaver happen during COVID, which is a huge staple in the queer community. Also, I think the Gladstone, which was another big venue space for queer artists and DJs to host parties, is probably closing down as well. Yeah, so you're definitely lucky, and your landlords are amazing to give you those spaces in these places that they're kind of just throwing it away for an extra few $1,000s to just anybody.
Like from what I'm hearing about Cruise and Tangos, I'm not really sure, but it sounds like Cruise and Tangos will stay.
Yeah.
And they're building the condo around Cruise
it.
and Tangos.
Yeah.
Which is great. And but like owning a cookie company in the village has made me also just question, and I'm not sure what the answers are, but like where do we provide space for non-alcohol centric businesses in the village? As far as like, do we have to have all bars in the village to be able to have a village?
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean?
No.
And I don't know the answer to that at all, but it just kind of it's been on my mind a little bit to see, to kind of just think about what a community, what makes up a community, I guess.
Right, kind of more safe spaces for, sober and people who are living sober in that area. And we know drugs and alcohol are a huge issue within the community as well as other communities. But yeah, for sure, there should be more places that are dedicated to supporting the people instead of just selling booze and alcohol and kind of that drug and party lifestyle.
Yeah, and like, don't get me wrong, I love a party, and I'm from Newfoundland, I can drink with the best of them, but it's definitely not 100% of our community, and even in the restaurant industry, I mean, drugs and alcohol is a huge part of it. I mean, not so much in the baking community. There's not a lot of like cocaine happening, making cookies, or at least not at Craig's Cookies. But yeah, like creating safe places for families as well, and for people that don't want to drink, and also within the village, like finding safe places for people that aren't just white queers,
Right. That's definitely a huge thing.
Yeah, how to support diversity within a diverse neighborhood and community.
Yeah, I mean, your neighbor Glad Day, doubles as a bookstore, an LGBTQ plus bookstore during the day, and then obviously an event venue at night, which I think is a great place to take your family and young children to during the day to kind of educate themselves and learn a little bit about that community and that and the stories that are built around that space.
Well, I mean, I think it's part of our culture in general, and that we're kind of starting to lose. It's just storytelling and rhetoric, and I think like respecting our seniors. I think like we can get so wrapped up in our own generation and not look to our seniors and members of our communities that are 65, 75, 85 and learn from them. And hear the stories and find a way to be able to make their stories kind of live on after they pass. Like the respect for our seniors, I think, in a big city, I think we can definitely bump that up. Side note though, Glad Day started selling beignets, little donuts.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Romain, how do you say that in French?
Beignet. There you go.
Beignets.
Beignet. Silent T.
Donuts. So they're selling beignets.
There you go. That's great. It's perfect.
I'm so sorry. And is it Roman or Romain?
It's Romain.
Oh my god.
But I've been hearing about Romain for the last 14 years now.
He's basically a head of lettuce.
Romain. No, I'll call you Romain.
There you go.
Fantastic. Well, Romain. So they sell beignets at Glad Day Bookstore now.
There you
they
go.
Came out of COVID.
Love a good
beignet.
beignet.
So good. I mean, I've only had them when they're like right out of the deep fryer, but they're really, really yummy. And it's amazing that I'm not really sure what's up with Craig's Cookies and Donuts always being kind of close to each other. Cause
True, Glory Hole.
Yes. Glory Hole Donuts in Parkdale are across
Shout out
the
to
street.
Glory Hole.
And I love them so much.
They are delicious, yes.
Oh gosh, I love a donut.
I do love. You know what? I'm a sucker for donuts too. Cookies and donuts, kind of like it's a hard choice.
Yeah, it's a good.
You gotta have both. I think personally.
Maybe you should do like what are they called? Like a powdered donut inside of a cookie.
Yeah. Or a cookie inside a donut.
Yes, Timbits and cookies.
There you go.
Right, like a good strawberry filled Timbit.
Yes. Oh, wow, that's so Canadian. It hurts.
Hey.
That's amazing. But you're beloved inside of in Toronto and outside of Toronto for your cookies, for you who you are. I know you have a collaboration with Nordstrom. You have one right now for their anniversary sale, but you've been collaborating with Nordstrom for a few years now.
Yeah.
Any other collaborations that you're looking to do, or you want to be a part of, or that are upcoming for you?
Well, let me tell you, Nordstrom has been pretty awesome to work with. They approached us 2 years ago, and they said, "Can you come to Nordstrom, sell your cookies for a month in December, and we won't charge you anything."
Mm-hmm.
That's so
wow.
They just gave us space in the middle of Nordstrom at the Inn Center for free.
That's amazing.
And we sold cookies. I think then eventually they realized, hey, wait a second.
We can make some money of that.
This guy does a good job. What started was the manager Brandon there of the Center Nordstrom lives in Hyde Park, and would come to Craig's Cookies in Parkdale and loved the story, loved the cookies, and just really wanted to support local, which, as a small business, I was like, that's just so heartwarming. This big, huge conglomerate of Nordstrom can do whatever they'd like. But they made the choice to support a small business. So that relationship has been growing. We're now at all the Nordstroms in Toronto.
Oh.
We're at Yorkdale Mall and Sherway Gardens as well.
Amazing.
And there has been talk about potentially expanding across North America to other Nordstroms. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of I kind of just go really one day at a time and see what happens. There is kind of talk, I'm looking at maybe a third location in the Mount Pleasant area, Mount Pleasant and Eglinton potentially. But we're also looking at what national franchising might look like.
Just don't forget about us when you're a big deal, okay?
I mean, I don't think we'll ever be a big deal. We're just a little shop making some cookies.
Would you ever consider grocery stores and pre-packaged cookies?
Well, to be honest, no. Because part of the success of the brand is you always get
fresh cookies.
When you buy the cookie, at least you get a freshly baked cookie.
Yeah.
How long it takes for you to eat that cookie is up to you. We're always selling fresh baked cookies. We're not selling anything ever that's day old.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, when we have cookies left over, we just give them to local businesses.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they see us coming. They're the bartenders that are working till 4 a.m. are amazing cookies.
Yeah.
So that's the tricky thing about selling to grocery stores is because they need a shelf life, and it's kind of just not what we do. I think the only way that it would work is if we sold just the dough and you get to bake the cookies.
Yeah. I mean, I've had your cookies 2 days old and popped them in the microwave and they were just as good.
Do not say that.
I know I shouldn't say it, but
how did you have cookies for 2 days? I had them that lasted a night.
Because someone brought me a pack of.
The microwave though.
Listen, I'm a chef. I don't have time to preheat an oven.
Preheat the oven, girl. It takes 2 minutes. Oh my gosh.
I'll slap her on your behalf.
I would have not done the interview. Microwaving cookies. I'm gonna go tell my staff that. Just a second. Hey everybody.
She's banned.
I'm finding out that they microwave their cookies. It's just they're all looking at me in disgust.
I know. Shame on me. I'm gonna go whip myself later.
No, I'm kidding. Speaking of that grudge.
There you go. Red flags. No more Felicia on the stories.
Red flags. No, I'm kidding. They're pretty good at the microwaves. But so my question to you is, if you have a croissant, do you put it in the microwave to warm it up?
Yes.
I don't own a microwave. I'm anti-microwave, so that wouldn't happen in my house. I would put it in my monogram oven, shout out to monogram, and then I will reheat it.
Exactly. Or like a toaster oven. Do you have a toaster oven?
No toaster oven.
You know what? I will when we get big and then we make money with the podcast. I promise I will buy her
a toaster
a
oven.
toaster
Thank
oven
you so
so
much,
she can
Rowan.
put her cookies
Thank you
in.
so much.
That'll be my gift.
I get home late at night.
Turning a negative to a positive. You just got yourself
A free
toaster oven.
toaster.
There you go. Thanks to Craig's cookies.
Thanks to Craig.
Yeah. How much would you owe your successful business to luck or to, you know, knowledge and good business practices?
I think a lot of the success is honestly the cookie itself is not just a as much as we have fun with being like we put stuff inside cookies.
Yeah.
It at the end of the day still is a delicious cookie.
Yes.
I mean, in my opinion, I guess, but it still has flavor to it.
Yeah.
We do put a bit of salt in the cookie.
It's funny. I was just gonna say, I was like that little bit of salt. It was like mix it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like some people don't like it, which is completely valid. But like what I like about it is that it makes you want to have another bite, or another 14 cookies.
Yeah.
So I mean, there is that. I think that like there are so many businesses out there that are sticky and they get the customer in for the first time, but then they don't return because the product isn't delicious.
Right.
So there's that, but also I think like going back to what I said before, like I've never put pressure on the business to succeed. Where I put pressure on is myself to have as much integrity as I can.
Yes.
And then my staff to have integrity in the product and then integrity in their jobs, as opposed to success. So success is kind of the byproduct of just believing and having respect in your job.
I mean, yeah, that's a perfect answer.
Good job on this answer.
Yeah. Would you want to be known for anything besides your cookies?
Not holding a grudge would be nice. I have blue eyes and blonde hair and single, so you know
there you go.
You know, so there's that.
Plenty of fish.
No, I think you know, you just kind of wake up in the morning, you brush your teeth like everybody else.
Well,
and
most people.
You try to be a good human being. So at the end of the day, like, I mean. Are we talking about like when I die? Is that what we're talking about?
In life, in business, in anything.
I've never thought of that before. I'm just assuming nobody remembers to begin with, or nobody thinks of me to begin with. So there is nothing to really think about.
I think a lot of people know who you are and what you do, and you get brought up in conversation so many times, inside the industry and outside the industry. Like, I can't tell you how many times your name gets brought up, or someone brings your cookies to a party or a potluck or a get together. Like Craig's cookies with the rainbow sticker, it's always there. It's always showing up.
And it's also like you know, it's not just it's there, but it's also the positive message around it. It's always like it's a smile. It's like I love them, I crave them. I never heard someone telling me like, ew, I hate those cookies.
Yeah, everyone's always like, fuck yes, you brought Craig's cookies.
That's awesome. No, that's good to hear, because I don't like, I never think of it that way, and it's, you know, like, I mean, it's also pretty lonely being a business owner. So, you know, I never assume that people talk about them, I guess.
Well,
No, you're very beloved. Your cookies are very beloved,
Very
and you as a person are definitely very beloved in the community and outside in the industry, and I think all of Toronto.
Oh, that's very kind. You've made my day.
But yeah.
I will have to bring you my cookies, because I think I have a really good cookie too. So I want you to try it.
We should have like a cookie bake-off.
Yeah, that's what we should do.
Yeah.
You know what? Actually, we should maybe do an episode on my YouTube channel. A little plug to my YouTube channel, and maybe we should do cookie together. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. Your cookies do look really, really great.
Thank you.
Have you seen this?
Do you know who else has been working on their cookie?
Whom?
I follow him on Instagram. He's a Middle Eastern chef.
Oh, Tomer.
Tomer.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's working
Yeah,
on
but
his
mine are
cookie.
better. Sorry, Tomer, my cookies are better.
Okay, so then maybe the three of us should get together.
Absolutely.
You know what? I'd like to watch that. I'd like to be a judge. And
I think you will be. You know your cookies.
Yeah, I know
I think you'll be a fair
You can
judge.
be a judge, and maybe we can like do a partnership with some kind of like local beer or whiskey distillery, and do like a cookie whiskey pairing.
look at that.
There you
That
go,
sounds
boom.
like a fun time.
Shout out to all the partners out there.
Anyways, Craig, thank you so much.
I hope I haven't gagged too much.
No, it was
you're perfect. Right on cue.
But to everyone listening, Craig's Cookies is at Parkdale, once again at 1537 Queen Street West, 483 Church Street. And they can also order online, right, for at-home delivery
Yeah.
on Uber Eats.
And hopefully to all our Americans listener, you'll have them soon in Nostrum all across North America.
Yeah, and you can also go to just craigscookies.com and order the old school way.
Yes, perfect. Yeah, and they get delivered right to your house, right? Like you guys do shipping.
They do.
Yeah. Someone did that for my birthday. It was very, very sweet of them.
Good people.
Yeah.
Shout out to the good
Shout
people.
out to the people who brought me cookies for my Craig's Cookies for my birthday.
Well, thanks so much for having me on.
Thank you so much, Craig.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, for sure.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you guys for listening this week at Gas Off Podcast. Once again, I'm Felicia.
And I'm Romain. Another great episode with our beloved friend Craig Pike from Craig's Cookies. And we'll see you next episode.
See you next episode, guys.